Okay, Ruthie, let's just start from the beginning because you've shared how you grew up feeling that pressure to be perfect and to live up to these expectations. So, can you talk about what that looked like as a child?
Yeah, interesting. This has been a theme that I've been talking about a lot this last week.
Really?
um, yes, it's really interesting with just friends, and I
Oh,
um I grew up. Everyone was doing the absolute best they can. I can
of
hold two things at
course.
once, and there were a lot of things that were really hard and painful for my sweet little sensitive, highly, highly, highly sensitive body. My mama was a child of alcoholics, and
Okay.
everything was about appearance. How do you look? What does it look like? How do other people think of you? And then I ended up being the only girl and the youngest in the family, and
Okay.
I was a little bit of a show pony. And every day when I'd come home, the first thing my mom would say is, "What did they say about you today? What did they say about your outfit? What did they say about how you looked? Did they say how pretty you were? What did they say about whatever it was I was doing?" And so, from the earliest memories I have, my value system, my worth, was completely wrapped in, and it wasn't even what did they say, it was what did the right people say about me.
Yep.
So, I learned my worth, my value is in having the right people think that I was pretty, skinny, kind, gentle, precious, funny, whatever it
Yeah.
was, that became my MO. So, my, you know, value system was getting the right people to think good things about me. And so I learned,
Right.
I'm 6'1", but I learned how to fit this tall, lanky body into the tiniest little box to be the kindest, sweetest, prettiest, gentlest, good girl that ever good
Hmm.
girled. And that became the most number one value system in my life because I thought that's what mattered more than anything else.
Yeah.
And so much of my unlearning, because I do believe the wholeness journey is an unlearning and a remembering, has been unlearning what these people think about me as none of my business. And I remember hearing the Anais Nin quote. I think I heard Rich Rohr quote it years ago at a retreat. And it says, no one sees the world as it is. We see it as we are. And so everyone is
Mm.
seeing everyone else through their lens of pain, epigenetics, trauma, you know, their cultural system, their religious system, their belief system. Like everyone is seeing everyone else through their own lens of how they are. And so
Yeah.
what anyone else thinks about me is just a projection of themselves. And so my work constantly, because this is daily work. I've not arrived anywhere and like don't care what anyone thinks about me anymore. My higher self doesn't give a shit. My little girl self cares so much. And so my
Mm.
constant work, Liz Gilbert has been one of my greatest teachers in this life. And she writes these letters to love. And it's just resonated with me so much because it feeds that story where I'm constantly telling myself, what does love say about me today? What is God? What is the universe? What does my higher self say about me today? And how can I lean into more of who that person is? That I want to be the most present version of me. I want to be the most tender, soft, with a very strong backbone. This does not mean that I let people run all over me. No, I have really amazing boundaries. But all of this came as a learning thing. I was not raised with any of that. So it's like
Yeah.
that's my unlearning and remembering on a daily basis. And,
Yeah.
I've had nervous breakdowns. I've gone to treatment. I've lost my mind. I was addicted. I lived in a bed for 7 years, addicted to every narcotic under the sun. You know, that really shook me up in so many ways because people had a lot of things to say about me in those states,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
that was like these little mini, I mean, my ego is by no means dead, but these little ego deaths of things like, oh, well, that perfect girl image is gone.
Yeah.
Thank fucking God it's gone, right? That is freedom because, like, I don't have to live up to what, listen here, whoever is listening right now, my little girl self cares. She cares what you think about me. I want you to leave this and feel so loved and think I was just, whatever, so transparent. My higher self knows it's none of my business. It is
Mm-hmm.
none of my business. My goal is to be loved and to help people feel more liberated and free. And whatever avenue that gets to come through, if it's me being my weird ass self, like, amen. That's amazing. So that was a very long answer to a very short question.
Okay, so let's go back because you mentioned a lot of things there, and I want to discuss all of those.
Yeah.
So, probably when you were that age and that's the kind of questions your mom was asking, there was a part of you that was feeling really good if you could do those things and you were making your mom proud, right?
Well, that's what's so painful about needing outside validation. Because if no one did say anything about me that day, I would go, is something wrong with me?
Okay.
Right. And so it was a very short lived high, if we could use
Okay.
the like metaphor of like something like lighting you up, because nothing
Yeah.
outside of me will ever fully fulfill me. You know, I wrote about this a little bit in my book, but I remember the most tangible experience when I was a senior in high school. It was actually 2 weeks before my wreck when I died. And I was homecoming queen. And I remember the principal, it was a really good friend. My dad was the principal's boss because my dad was the superintendent. And the
Okay.
principal told my dad, who was the superintendent, that I had gotten more votes than anyone he'd ever seen in his like 20 something years of working there, because usually the vote was down the middle of the black people voted for the black people and the white people voted for the white people. And I was always friends. I probably had more black friends than white friends, but I was always friends with both. And he said that I was one of the first people to get all of these votes from both. And of course, that night when I heard that information, I was on a high. I was so just like, for a high school student, that's the end all be all, or at least it was for me.
Yeah.
That's not everyone's aspiration. But as a senior in high school, for me, for that little girl, what did they say about me? It hit.
Mm.
I did it. You know, I'm homecoming queen. I'm the cheerleading captain. Everyone loves me.
Yeah.
And Chelsea, I will never forget the feeling the next morning. I will never forget the feeling I got the
Really.
next morning. I don't know that I had ever consciously realized I was so depressed. I felt
Mm.
so empty. I felt hollow. And I
Mm.
remember thinking, what's the effing point? I got the thing. I'm the
Okay.
quote unquote most
Yeah.
popular. Everyone, the right people said that I'm worthy, that I am the
Yeah.
number one, and I am bankrupt inside. It did
Yeah.
not fulfill me in any way, shape, or form. It did not fulfill any of it, of what I thought it would do.
Right.
And again, this was so unconscious. I mean, I was 16 years old, I was a
Yeah.
child. And it was so important because that has like stuck with me of like, okay, I got the thing. Because I think as humans, it's the most human thing. You know, I will be so happy when I get that husband. I will be so
Yes.
happy when I get that job. I will be so happy when that number's in my bank account. I will be so happy when I get that house. I will be so happy when I get that baby. I will be so happy. And
Hmm.
we forget how to be. It's beautiful to have dreams and aspirations. I have so many dreams for myself. I have
Yes.
such a vision of my crone self. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with her. And if I don't know how to find pleasure and play and joy in whatever circumstance I'm in, I'm
Hmm.
missing it.
Yeah.
I'm missing it, you know? And I know it's the oldest tale in time, like, you know, and there's a reason that it's a theme.
Right.
There's a reason.
Yeah. So all of this is at play. How is that? How were you feeling in your body? Like a lot of that then would play out probably on, I don't look right.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gross. Did any of
Oh,
that transfer
oh
into
my
like shame
God.
into your body?
The amount of shame I have felt and hatred I have had for my body in this life, which
Mm.
actually, honestly, I felt tears just kind of creep in my eyes. I have hated my body in this life. And then when chronic pain moved in, so, 28 years ago from dying in this car accident, then I believe my body hated me. And so it went from me
Oh.
loathing my body. I would stand in front of my armoire. I still have it. It's in our guest room, and I would pull down my pants and I would sit there and I would critique every part of my body. I loathed it. I would go through this mental thing of everything that needed to change for me to become beautiful and acceptable and desirable.
Mm.
And I learned this. I didn't make this up.
Right.
This
Right.
was a behavior in my home. Um, And so I inherited the story that something about me and my body is wrong and bad. And then I got very involved in a church when I was 18 or 17 that told me I was a broken, depraved wretch and my sexuality was sinful and
Oh.
evil and bad and dirty. And so I inherited that narrative too. So everything I was getting and everything I was, you know, feeding with my heart, my body, my mind, my actions was, this is disgusting. Something is wrong.
Yeah.
This is ugly. And I have to change it and I have to whip it into shape. I had a massive eating disorder. I starved myself for
How old
ages.
were you when that started, do you think?
It started in high school when I became
Okay.
obsessive for sure,
Okay.
but it ramped up like nobody's business when I got out of the hospital
Okay.
because, I was on life support for a long time and
Yeah, we're just gonna
I,
have to talk about this wreck
yeah,
'cause it's been
yeah,
mentioned a few
yeah.
times, you dying, and I'm like, okay, let's go there, and then we could
Yeah, and we
probably.
can totally, I'm so happy to give a brief description. If you Google me, you can find out every detail about this accident.
Oh,
In a lot
okay.
of ways, it's like I'm a little bored with the story, but it also is important because it gives
Okay, give us a quick
context.
version. Yeah.
Yeah, because it gives context of what it invited me into. And I do believe that
Yeah.
that's important. But in a past version of me, Chelsea, all I would have talked to you about is my pain story. That's all I would have talked to
Okay.
you about because I thought that's who I was.
That
And
was
now
your
I'm like,
story.
let's get that out of the way so we could talk about what it's
Yeah.
invited, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I died. I was hit by an ambulance on my car
Okay.
door going
So
65.
how
And
old are you?
I had just turned 17. It was 2 weeks after homecoming. I
Okay.
just
Okay.
turned 17. It was November 2nd, which was my daddy's birthday. And I pulled out in front of the ambulance. He hit me on my car door. My car door ended up in the passenger seat and pushed into a ditch. And I broke a bunch of things: ribs, lungs collapsed, spleen ruptured. But the worst part is I broke C1 and 2. So
Okay.
I shouldn't be alive, right? I shouldn't be breathing. I shouldn't be walking. I shouldn't have brain functioning. It's very rare for someone to survive a C1 and C2 break.
Okay.
Um, and they got me to the hospital. I was on life support for a good while. And back then, they used wires and spinal cord fusions. So they took bone from my hip, fused it into my neck with wire.
Okay.
And years later, when I was in my early 20s, that wire broke and pierced my brainstem, but we didn't realize it.
Oh.
So I was just having this debilitating pain for over 5 years in a bed on narcotics, taking all the drugs before they realized that wire was piercing my brainstem. And apparently, I'm the only
Oh.
human in the world that's ever had that. I shouldn't be alive. I should, again, round two,
A
shouldn't be
second
alive, shouldn't be
time.
breathing. Yeah. It's like miraculous that I'm still here. But I was in such a freeze state, it hit all the things. Like I couldn't move. I was chained to a bed for a long time. And I think that's been my default for my nervous system is moving into freeze. And it makes sense. I was frozen after they hit me in the wreck. I was frozen when I was chained to a bed in the hospital for a long time on life support. And then I got in a bed and froze again when the wire pierced my brain. And I didn't move for almost 7 years while I lived in that bed. But when I got out of the hospital the first time, I became really even more obsessive with food because it was something I could control. Like my life felt
Yeah.
so out of control and I never did a minute of therapy. I had no tools to handle what was happening. We just didn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
I just kind of went back to life as normal with this big old neck brace for 6 months and then went to college, and so I was
Oh.
just starving myself and just withholding as a way to try to control something out of my life when it felt completely out of control.
Yeah. So that eating disorder really kind of picked up then in college.
Oh yeah. And it stuck
Yeah.
with me. And then I swung the other way. I became not bulimic. I tried throwing up like 2 or 3 times and I hated it so much, but I became a massive binger, massive
Okay.
binger. So I did all the things without throwing up. And I just, it became me trying to stuff. Like I had no tools to
Mm.
feel. I identify as an Enneagram 4. We are massive feelers, very emotional, very sensitive, very all the things. And I had zero tools to feel
Yeah.
any of that. And so eating ginormous amounts of food and sugar and processed food was just a way to stuff, push it down, push it down, push it down. I can't feel that. I can't do that. And so I stayed in that pattern for a very, very long time.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So your college years you were relatively healthy. I'm not not in the, in the eating and
I
mental
don't
state.
think those are the words.
That's not the
I
word.
wasn't in
From your
debilitating
accident.
pain. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't in debilitating pain yet because the wire hadn't broken yet. So I would
Okay.
get sore if I danced too much, but I was eating. I mean, disordered eating was off the charts. I had no
Yeah.
tools. I was, I would have a perma-grin when I would show up in public with people and just so sweet and happy and kind and like always at all the
Oh.
college ministry things. I was so emotionally and mentally unwell and so
Mm.
numb and so shut down. I was so disassociated and disconnected from my body.
Mm.
So I was so unwell, but I wasn't in debilitating pain yet.
Okay. So did you get married in college?
No, so I
No.
graduated. I didn't date anyone in college. I kissed
Okay.
one boy. I was so shut down. I
Really?
like very avoidant. I was best friend. I used to
Okay.
brother everyone because my brother really helped raise me. And
Okay.
brothers don't break your heart. So unconsciously, my avoidance was like I was raised with all brothers. I'd meet a precious guy and I would automatically become their like buddy pal. And I had
Okay.
so many guy friends, but I also kept things at a more, you know, I would give just enough to connect, but I didn't share my heart. I didn't know
Yeah.
how. It felt too unsafe. I was like, if they got to know me, they wouldn't like me. So
Right.
I didn't share. Very few people knew that I was struggling. I don't think I admitted to myself that I was struggling with the eating disorder. I wouldn't have
Wow.
even gone there, but food became my drug. Screens have always been an addiction for me that I've got to
Mm.
do a lot of work around, but yeah. And then I graduated, moved to Nashville to work at a church and
Okay.
met my ex-husband, within that first year of being
Okay.
here. And we got married within like 10 months because we felt shame for having sex. And
Oh.
that, sweet, sweet, sweet little earnest idiots. And we were just wanting to be so good. We just wanted to be good. It was so earnest. And he's a very kind person, but I didn't, I don't know that I thought I loved him, but I don't know that I really did because I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know
Yeah.
how to open my heart. I was so shut down and cut off. And then about a year into our marriage is when the wire started giving me
Okay.
trouble.
And was that like a flip switch? Like it happened overnight? You just were like able to function and then
Mm-hmm.
not?
I
Wow.
mean, function is probably a very loose term. I wasn't healthy by any means, but yeah, for the most part, I was able to show up and do life. And then all of a sudden, I started having this debilitating shooting pain go up my neck
Mhm.
that would make me feel like I was going to throw up or pass out. And it just started happening all the times. I could just barely move my neck and it would shoot up. And I started
Oh.
going to a bunch of doctors and they did
Okay.
these MRIs. A black spot would come back on my
Yeah.
film. Again, there's so many more details about all this, anywhere on the internet. But
Oh.
they would be like, here's everything around it looks fine. There's a spot here that's the magnet, the machine interacting with the wire from your fusion. Let's just try therapies. Those didn't work. Let's try these narcotics. So that's the path I started. And I got into bed and I barely got out for the next 7 years.
And and is that because of the pain or the drugs?
Well, I would have told you it was all because of the pain. I don't
Okay.
believe that today. I think I moved into a
Okay.
massive freeze state, and I definitely don't think the narcotics help. You become such a shell of yourself. But I
Okay.
read this book that was I actually want to bring it back out. I've had so many clients read it too. It's called, hold on, let me think of the name of it.
Okay.
It's about shadow work. It's called, I'll think of it and we could put it in the show notes. I can't believe I can think of it right this minute. But in it, existential kink, which is such a
Okay.
provocative thing, which I'm kind of obsessed with. But what she talks about is, shadow work is a huge part of the work that I do. And I'm also
Yes.
going to be offering a free class to any one of your listeners that we'll have the link to where I explain what this is, because
Okay,
Carl
yeah.
Jung is kind of the godfather of shadow work. And what he says
Okay.
is, until the unconscious becomes conscious, you're going to have the same results over and over and call it fate. I might have tweaked that just a little bit, but that's essentially the message.
Uh-huh.
And so many of us, our traumas, our unconscious parts are driving our lives, and we're calling it
Yeah.
fate. We just think that's the way it is. That's how life is. A child of alcoholics very likely it's very likely they'll choose an avoidant or an abusive or an alcoholic partner because they think that's what
Yeah.
it is. They think that's how life is. They think that's how they're supposed to be treated. They think that's how they're supposed to, neglect is normal to them. Emotional abuse is
Mm-hmm.
normal to them. And that they think that's how life is. They call it
Mm-hmm.
fate until you become conscious. You start realizing these patterns. Epigenetics are real. We're holding so much of the
Mm-hmm.
pain in my body has never been mine. It was my mama's and her mama's and her mama's that was never processed, never looked at, never felt. And so much of the glorious parts of me are my mama's and her mama, like epigenetics goes both ways. But
Yeah.
realizing that, that version of me that's very frozen, what they talk about in existential kink is these patterns that we have. There's something in us that loves it, or else we wouldn't keep doing it over and over. We get something out
Right.
of it.
Yeah.
And that sounds crazy, but when I started peeling back enough layers, like all of a sudden, I'm in this life that I don't really like. I thought getting married was going to make everything okay. And all of a sudden I would have this
Mm.
love and my life was going to be beautiful. And, then
Yeah.
we start having babies and the rest of everything would be perfect. Of
Yeah.
course, that's not so cute. And so
It's so just
bless
adorable.
my heart. Like, adorable. We're so cute.
So
Right. And
cute.
it's the tale as old as time. But all of a sudden, this
Yeah.
pain moves in.
Yeah.
I don't have to show up for a church. I don't believe a lot of the things. It was all word. It
Yeah.
was just like moving my mouth what other people had told me, but it wasn't an embodied experience
Mm-hmm.
with God at that point. Now, let me just say, I've deconstructed all of the religious beliefs I have, and I've never been more in love with God or the universe, or you can call it Santa,
Mm.
whatever you want. That's something that loves
Sweet.
us. I have
Yeah.
never been more in love with God
Mm.
and the universe that I am in this moment. But it doesn't at all look like what I was raised in. And I did not have that relationship at all at this time. But I'm working at a church.
Yeah.
I'm telling the people the things that I had been taught, talking about purity culture and we're broken, depraved wretches. And like one of the themes of the denomination I was a part of says that you are more broken and depraved than you could ever imagine, but you're more loved and supported than you could ever dream. Like that's one of the theme lines. And I'm like,
Okay.
hello.
Okay.
It's so, I mean, whatever you want to believe is great. That does
You're
not fit for me. No.
disgusting, but I still
Yeah,
like you.
but you're so loved because of the blood of Jesus, whatever. I also think Jesus is the coolest. I'm obsessed with Jesus, and those things do not fit for me. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I, what I've learned through shadow work, through doing work with these unconscious patterns and parts of me, because we aren't our patterns. We are love,
Yeah.
right? We all have patterns. We all have shadow parts, but we aren't them. They're just parts of
Okay.
us that learn to survive.
Yeah.
And there was something in me. All of a sudden, I don't have to show up at this church I don't want to be at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to show up to a marriage I don't want to be a part of. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to show up to a life that I don't really like. And all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden, all these people are caring for me. I'm not asked,
Okay.
no one's asking anything of me, but I'm getting cared for. And there was a lot
Yeah.
that little girl Ruthie didn't get,
Yeah.
a lot. And all of a sudden, people are caretaking for me. They're feeling sorry for me. I'm off the hook for things I don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
And as much as I freaking hated it, as much pain as it was, I also loved it. I
I
also
get
loved
it.
it. I got to lay in my bed. I got to eat my feelings all day long with junk food. I got to watch reality TV all day long. And I didn't have to show up to a life I didn't want. And people took care of me. And
Yeah.
so it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it fed a need for me that I didn't know was there.
Yeah. Yeah. Ruthie, what is your relationship with with your parents and your brothers during this time?
Yeah. Um, they were scared. They were
Okay.
really worried about me, didn't know what to do. Um, they would have done anything for me, but I also outsourced my stuff forever. Like, daddy, fix me, make me better. Brothers, fix me, make me better. Husband, fix me, make me better. Doctors, fix me, make me
Yeah.
better. And of course, they couldn't do it. It's an internal job. I mean, we get to be
Yeah.
supported. I do believe that there have been so many little angels along the way that have supported me like nobody's business. But it was my work and everyone did the best they could and didn't, who knows how to,
Mhm.
I mean, I was a child, who knows how to handle this? I had no
Yeah.
tools,
So,
no resources. My nervous system was completely dysregulated as long as I can remember until my
mhm.
40s. I didn't know regulation felt like. And that there's still, I can just get dysregulated in a millisecond. And that's why I do this work to bring tools
Mhm.
to regulate, to feel safe in my body, and to not
Yeah.
outsource my joy and my comfort anymore.
Mm. When did those patterns start to break for you when you're in that bed? When did you start to be like, okay, okay, something has to change?
Mm, it wasn't until I had a massive nervous breakdown. I had little breakdowns along the way in those 7 years, but I
Okay.
could tell my marriage was coming to an end. It was
Okay.
very clear. He was really unwell, couldn't do it
Oh.
anymore, which who could blame him? My God. And I stopped sleeping completely. At
Mhm.
that point, I was on the highest level of fentanyl, morphine, hydrocodone, Ambien, Cymbalta. I mean, I don't even remember the names of some of the other ones. So
Wow.
many drugs, high levels of all of those.
Wow.
And my body just, my mental health, everything just shut down.
Yeah.
And I had a complete nervous breakdown. I had to move home to Louisiana. I couldn't take care of myself. I was just like
Okay.
a shell of a human. And
Okay.
I wanted to die. That's all I thought about. Like, I felt like I was trapped in this body, in this bed, in this house. Like, I just was like, is this the rest of my life? Like, take me now,
Yeah.
God. If this is how I have to
Absolutely.
live, no, thank you. This is hell. So, having to move home was a turning point. I mean, I wasn't awakened at all at that point. I was just learning
Okay.
how to white knuckle my life. I learned how to start weaning myself off the drugs. I learned how to start
Okay.
showing up, but I just moved my addiction to other things. It was still very much, I started an Instagram account, and I got to say, what do all these people think about me? If I got a bunch of likes, I felt okay for a minute. If I got a lot of
Okay.
attention, if these certain people started liking me, and so I kept with similar patterns, but it was a healthier. Like, I wasn't in bed
Yeah.
on narcotics anymore, but I
Yeah.
still was white knuckling life. I was in so much pain. I had no understanding of the mind body connection. You could not
Mhm.
have convinced me that my pain had anything other to do than the fact that
Right.
I'm the only human in the world that's had a wire in their brainstem. If someone had tried to tell
So
me that
they had
emotions
figured
are
that out by
trauma,
then.
oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That happened 5 years in. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But if someone had tried to tell me that emotions were a part of the trauma I was feeling, I would have wanted to punt them to the freaking moon. Like, hello,
Absolutely.
So that's been a big learning, big
Yeah.
learning thing for me.
So what was the first thing that like caught your attention or your excitement enough to start pursuing, calming your nervous system and
Well, I didn't know anything about the nervous system. I think there's been a million things along the way. I would call myself a student of Earth School. I don't think there's ever been one thing for me. I have just, because I've been so unwell emotionally, physically, and spiritually in this life, I
yeah.
think the way the universe has us set up in the most, I love the book The Way of Integrity. If y'all haven't read it, it's one of the best books. I'm on my round 3. I've had every client read it. It's by Martha Beck.
Okay.
But she talks about when you're not on the path of integrity, things break down. Things are
Mm,
gonna break down. And it sent me on such a journey. I was learning what didn't work. I would try
yeah.
this. If someone told me this could make you feel better, I'd try this and I'd try this. And then I went to this place called Onsite. That's like an emotional wellness thing. And I started learning more about trauma. I started learning about
Okay.
early childhood trauma. I would have told you everything was perfect in my life until that wreck. Until my late 30s, I would have told you that. I believed it. You
Yep.
could not have convinced me otherwise. And so learning about early childhood trauma and
Yeah.
all those things, like pre-verbal trauma and what that epigenetics and what these things do to your body, learning tools to move emotions, learning tools to bring love to these parts of me without over identifying. Like, I will not say I am a depressed person, I am an anxious person, I am a chronic pain survivor. I will say anxiety is visiting right now. Chronic pain is at my table. Jealousy is visiting right now. Insecurity is visiting, but it's not who I am. It's just a part that wants to be, that's like, I love internal family systems also, but it's like, that's been a huge tool for me, is not over identifying with these parts that help me survive. Disordered eating sits at my table. That's not who I am.
Yeah.
Right. Addiction sits at my table. That's not who I am. I have been, addiction with this thing, with sugar, with like, those have been my biggest things. And when I see that come up, when I realize that disordered eating probably helped save my life, if I had not learned how to leave my body at certain very traumatic times in my life, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. It's a master plan, and it serves you until it doesn't. Right. And it doesn't mean I never do it anymore, but it's like, when it moves into the driver's seat, I get to bring so much love to that part of me, because my goal is to have love driving my life. And these other parts are all here. They haven't gone away. They're still in me, but I don't even say I'm on a healing journey more. I'm like, I'm on a wholeness journey, because to be whole is to allow every part of me to be here. And all of it belongs, and all of it gets to be treated like, I was telling a client earlier, I think about like when anxiety comes and visits, or when fear comes and visits, which has been with me my whole life, or when pain feels debilitating. Like, how can I treat this part of me like I am the most attuned mama ever? How can I bring that part into my lap and love on it and tell it the truth, as though, what does this part of me need to hear right now to feel safe, to be able to release and let go and not feel like it needs to drive my life? What needs to be expressed through my body? What needs to be felt, instead of me intellectualizing everything, which I'm like a pro at? How can I feel that in my body? What does that feel like? Like, even talking about this right now, like, maybe put your hand on your heart or your belly, and what is this bringing up for you? And what does it feel like? Does this feel activating? Because that's perfect. If it is, that gets to be here, right? Does this feel hopeful? What does hopefulness feel like in your body? Does it feel like a melty feeling, or do you feel contraction? Does it feel scary to hope? Does it feel expansive to hope? That's actually where we get to start making these little 1-degree shifts. And then when I started learning about the nervous system, that's become, a foundation for the work that I do. Because if my nervous system doesn't feel safe, I don't have capacity to change, because I don't feel safe to change. I'm going to crumble in on myself to create safety. Because for my nervous system, there's a quote about the nervous system. The nervous system would prefer a familiar hell to an unfamiliar heaven.
So good.
My familiar, right?
Yeah.
When I first heard that, I'm like, tattoo that shit on my body. Like, I have stayed in so many familiar hells, because that felt safer than the unknown. So I feel like I'm talking a lot.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I think it was so good. What's your pain level like now?
It's very alive, but I'm learning to talk really differently about it.
Okay.
It's loud and alive. And I so believe, and this can change tomorrow, because I have moments where I don't believe this, and then I get to remember again. But I believe my body was created to heal. And I believe the more nervous system, I do so many beautiful things to honor my sweet little body where she is today. I was at physical therapy this morning, strengthening the side of my body that's a lot weaker. I'm doing so much beautiful. I get to do nervous system work that serves my body, for her to feel safer, to believe that she can feel better. Right? I am doing work to feel my feelings and to move emotions through my body. And I just believe that this pain doesn't have to be this loud. The safer that my body feels, the more attuned I am to her, the healthier I eat. And I'm not putting this on anyone else. I'm just choosing to talk differently about it, to experience it in a more compassionate, loving way than this thing that's like holding me back to live my life. Um, I had an experience last winter, where I was like, I believe part of my work is to freaking fall in love with my life. Because, Chelsea, most of my life, I felt homesick on this planet. I've not wanted to be here. I've looked at this world and I'm like, y'all are insane how people treat each other, how we treat the planet. I feel insane how we treat animals, how people treat the earth, like how this us against them, the political, what we're doing in the Middle East, like it's so devastating to me on a level I can't even put into words. And I am choosing to believe in a new earth. I am choosing to believe that like this work is inside out work. We are co-creating our reality all the time. And I have focused so much on what I hate and can't stand and what breaks my heart. And now I'm like, there's so many studies. Listen, I'm very woo-woo. I will honor that. That sits at my table. But I also freaking believe in science. I think I love learning data. There is so much science that says through pleasure and play, we can heal. Like that is like the most, your body cannot release oxytocin and cortisol at the same time. It can't. So if I'm releasing oxytocin through pleasure and play and laughter and focusing on what I do want to happen, this is not me putting a Band-Aid on I am very aware of the reality of our world, right? Very, probably too aware. But if I want to bring a new earth to my own life, which is a projection into the rest of the life, I want to focus on what I do want and how I want to see this world and how I want people to feel and how I want people to be treated and how I want animals to be treated and how I want our food to be prepared and how I want the earth to be treated. Like I want to focus on that. So when I think about the pain that visits my body, I just want to wrap it in so much love and so much care and thank my body for getting so loud and hurting so much, because she has invited me into doing the deepest work I know my soul came to do in Earth Soul. And part of my soul's work was to feel so much pain, wanting to die for so long, hating being alive for so long. And that doesn't fit for me anymore. I want to be the most alive 45-year-old. I want people to leave my presence and feel more enlivened, more joy, more play, more pleasure. Like that is my intention and that is my goal. How can I be more in love with my life when circumstances can be insane? But how can I bring levity and play? I had a really traumatic thing happen last week and I don't want to get into it. But what has been so cool, which shows me that my nervous system is having a different experience, like I have laughed harder in 4 or 5 days about what happened. I have laughed until I'm almost in pain. I have to be able to laugh at myself. If I can't laugh at myself, I know I'm like, okay, what do we need to do to bring a little more levity here and a little more play here? Do you want to come up here? Come. She's being very vocal. This is Fern.
Hi.
Did you want to say hi? Did you feel left out? Like, what can I do in this moment? We do not need more people with more knowledge in this world. We need more alive people in this world. And what brings me more alive? Like that is what shifts, like moving towards what brings you alive. Like I was telling a client today, she was like been on this amazing healing journey and it's also been so painful. And she was like, when I worked with horses, I saw the biggest shift. And I was like, okay, that made you feel, right now, we know that makes you feel so alive. What do we need to do to get you in front of more horses? Follow that. Follow your pleasure. That is like just the truth. For the longest time, I thought I had to be bleeding out on the sidewalk and all healing was the most traumatic, painful. And let me tell you, some of that is. You got to alchemize. There's pain. There's heartbreak. There is loss. I have felt it all.
Yeah.
And the most biggest shifts I have felt is when I follow that joy. What makes me feel the most alive in my body in this moment?
What does
Does
that
it
look
bring
like for you,
contraction?
Ruthie?
Animals is number
Animals.
one.
Okay.
hmm Animals and my partner are definitely like top of the list. They bring
Okay.
me so much joy. Being in the nature is a
Mm-hmm.
massive, massive one. Being around children, my best
Okay.
friends' kids bring me more joy and laughter. Right after the election, I just went and babysat. I'm like, what do you need? And I went and
All of
babysat
them.
for my best friend's 2 month old. two month
Oh,
old. And
yeah.
then I went and spent time with my best friend, my other best friend's 3 year old. He was not
Hmm.
concerned about what was happening in the world. He did not think everything was coming to an end, everyone's effed, and we're
Right.
screwed forever. He is joyful and playful and laughing. And I want to help hold that so sacred for him and so sacred for
Hmm.
these babies. And, nature is my touchstone. Like, the tree is still, losing its leaves and going into fall and having these gorgeous experiences. Like, that tree is not shaken by that election. And how can I follow the cyclical nature of, right now is a time for shedding, of getting more quiet, of going inside as I'm moving into winter. And I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, obviously, but like following nature is what makes me feel more alive.
Hmm.
Following the, circadian rhythms, going to bed early, taking baths, waking up and watching the sun. Those help me feel more expansive in my body. We have bird feeders outside of every window watching these birds. I feed more feral cats than you could ever dream. Like, quality time. Yesterday, I spent time with my 4 closest girlfriends. That makes me feel alive. And I considered it a part of my work.
Hmm.
I'm like, I need some connection and play.
Yeah.
And so I went and hung out with 4 of my closest girlfriends yesterday morning. And I was so enlivened to go back and do the work, right? Like,
Right. Right.
and that feels, because it's life giving, it feels
Mm-hmm.
expansive. We ate the most delicious food. My best friend's husband owns this restaurant called Audrey in Nashville, and we went and had lunch there. And like,
Hmm.
savoring brings me alive.
Yeah.
Savoring the bath and the coconut oil that I'm rubbing on my skin and the Ayurvedic oil, and like smelling this, oil makes me feel more alive. And those little things matter
Yeah.
so much. They matter so much. Dance
Hmm.
makes me feel more alive. I like to dance naked. It makes me
Love
feel
it.
in my body that it's like a reclamation of that girl who was so ashamed of her body, who would only get dressed in closets, who never wanted anyone to see me. This is me, reclaiming my body. That is
Yeah.
for me first and foremost before anyone
Mm-hmm.
else. What feels good inside of me?
Mm-hmm.
So those are just
Mm.
a few things.
Really good. Yeah. Really good. So, in the past few years, you've met someone special. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, I
How has
have.
that been like enjoying a relationship where you also can enjoy yourself? I'm sure it has a very different
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah, I've never had a relationship like this at all. We're both on such, I think that's the other thing I love about our relationship is we're both doing our own inner work big time,
Yeah.
and really support. And I feel so supported by him. Like,
Hmm.
on a level, I have let him see some of my parts that I have shamed and hated the most and been so embarrassed of. And
Yeah.
he only leans in more and holds me and loves me. And I've never shown those parts to anyone before. I never felt safe enough to do it. Um, his love is transforming me and my love is transforming him. And what we are co-creating together, it's so human and it's messy and it's
Hmm.
beautiful. I don't
Hmm.
I told him when we first got married or got first started dating that I would never get married again. And he changed my mind. I'm like, I've always believed in commitment. I just never cared about marriage. Like, I mean, that's not true.
Yeah.
Since I've shifted, I cared very much when I was younger. Now I could give 2 shits, but I believe in commitment and ceremony. And
Yeah.
he's never had that experience. And he is so
Hmm.
valuable and worthy and deserving of that. Um, So I am so grateful and excited to spend
Aw.
how much of my life I can with him,
Yeah.
and to just create this little life. Like, I feel like what we can create together is more loving when we put it together, for the
Yeah.
world. And it's simple. He's not at all what I expected. He's so humble. He's so simple.
Mm.
For the little girl, like, what did they say about you today? When we first started dating, he had a beard to like here, hair to his belly button, like style that I was not a fan of. And I was just like, did work that I did not ever think would be the kind of work a partner of mine would have. And it was like the universe being like, here's what you thought you needed, here's what you
Yeah.
thought the right people would want for you or whatever. And he has broken every one of those molds. And thank God, because even 3-4 years ago, I would never have said yes to him. But I've
Really?
learned how to listen to my body, and my body felt
Mm.
expanded when I was with him, even though my head was like, nope, abort, abort. He looks crazy. No, he looks like one of those mole people that lives under the subway. Like, he looks crazy to me. And then, this beautiful soul, like, I had no idea he was so handsome. I'm like, you
Oh.
were underneath all this, but God was like, do you trust me? Do you trust me? Because I'm going to give you so much more than you could ever dream if you just keep following and trusting your body and trusting me. And I'm so grateful. I am so grateful that I've
Mm.
gotten to unlearn so much of my conditioned beliefs of what it's supposed to look like and what he's
Yeah.
supposed to look like and what his job
Mm.
is supposed to be and what his bank account is supposed to be and all these bullshit things that I thought mattered, that
Mm-hmm.
now I'm like, oh my God, it's so much better than I could have dreamed.
So great. So great. And
Yeah.
talk to me about your decision to maybe not have kids.
Um, so as a child, that's all I thought. When people would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up, you would just ask me what my journey with children is. And, when people would ask me, I'd say, oh, mom, that's what I want to be when I grew up. And I felt great about that. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's someone's journey,
Yeah.
right? But I always was obsessed with children. I'm really, really good with children. If there's a child
Yeah.
or an animal around, they're usually on my lap. Um, and in my 20s, that was probably one of the most painful things, was not having children. Like, we tried,
Mm.
obviously I'm in a bed on all, like, thank God the universe was like, hello, you're so cute, thinking like you'd be able to take care of a child. I would have totally traumatized a kid if I'd had one at that
Mm.
stage, because I couldn't have shown up or attuned or attached to them, because
Right.
I was not attuned or attached to. I was very unwell. And so it was so painful. We did fertility treatments. It just, nothing, of course,
Okay.
happened. And then in my 30s, I got divorced. That was all the way up until my early 30s. And then my 30s, I think there was still a desire there for sure. But it wasn't until my late 30s where I started getting really clear and understanding, like, I feel so called. I feel like my dharma in this life is to do this work. Um,
Mm.
I fully believe that is my dharma, is to do this work on the planet. And I'm amazed by moms that can do both, but with my body, with my nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
I do not have capacity to be a really amazing mama and to do the work that I feel is my calling, my dharma in this life. And I have more capacity to mother myself and be a mother in this world by not having biological children. And that is
Mm.
so clear to me. I mean, that was one of the first things I said to Eric I'm like, never getting married, never having kids. If that's what you're looking for, I'm not your person. And that, I
Yeah.
honor that. And I would be really sad, but I honor that because I'm not doing it. Nothing will change my
Mm-hmm.
mind. It is like, there's very few things I feel black and white about for myself.
Okay.
I try
Mm-hmm.
to dance in that gray nuance.
Yeah.
That is something that I feel very crystal clear
Mm.
no about. I don't think I could do them. I know I could not do them both well.
Mm.
I know that. And I also know my body couldn't handle it. To get through a day at this point in time, and I'm so open for this shifting, but to get through a day in my beautiful body has been very hard up to this point. Um, and caring for a child 24/7 is just not in the cards for me.
Yeah.
And I've
Ruthie.
let myself grieve deeply. Like that is not
Yeah.
on a light, but I don't feel
Right.
grief about it anymore. I have fully let
Beautiful.
myself process, feel
Beautiful.
sad, anger, grief. I believe I'm meant to be a mama to myself,
Mm.
to animals, to my friends' children, to my
Yeah.
clients, and to this planet. Like, I do
Mm.
believe that I'm a mother. It just
Yes.
doesn't look the way I thought.
Yes. I'm honored you were here today. I felt like I was just barely holding back tears through the entire
Aww.
conversation. I resonated with so much of it,
Mm,
and I really thought it was beautiful, and I'm grateful that you
thank
came
you.
and you shared, and I know it's going to resonate with so many other people as well.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Chelsea. I really appreciate that. Thank you
Thanks.
for inviting me and thank you for allowing me to be here. And for anyone that is interested in some of this work, and you follow me at ruthielindsey.com is my website. So you can follow me on my website, which is ruthielindsey.com. Also, my newsletter is definitely, I have an Instagram, it's at Ruthie Lindsey, but my newsletter is definitely more of the way that you can kind of keep in touch with what I'm doing, all my offerings. I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching for women. I lead a lot of retreats and workshops. I'm going to be leading a retreat at the Art of Living in June called Homecoming. And we'll
Oh,
dive a lot deeper in a lot of the things that we've been talking about. Um, but yeah, I would be so honored to have, join our little corner of the universe that's so kind and
absolutely.
so fun and so loving. And there will be a free offering that if any of you are interested in, it's a free class. We'd love to have you.